Okay, my name's Zakashi guys, and in this video here we are going to be doing a tier list. Now this is the first tier list I've done in a while because the last time I done a tier list was even before Broly dropped, and that was because I wasn't at home, I was on holiday. So I felt that I should do a tier list at least before they drop a new unit. It's looking like it's going to be a new Legends Limited, most likely an Ultra though, for the sagas from the movies Dragon Ball Z campaign. They've dropped quite a bit since I done a last tier list, so there's obviously the legendary Super Saiyan Broly in the game. They've also got Videl, who didn't really do much. They've recently added Garlic Jr. and that Goku Piccolo tag. And normally for 1% Sparkings I wouldn't do a tier list, but because I missed one for Broly, like I said, gonna be doing one today. Let me know you guys' thoughts on my opinion on all of these characters in the comment section below, but I ain't got much more to say. Let's get into the video now. Right, so we're going to be starting with the fan service tier. It's not really anything important, it's just characters that I feel that are worth mentioning, but they're not going to be included in the top 10 at all. But these characters can still perform in my opinion. They can do little things here and there. Heavy on God Goku. I feel like his ultimate is a really sleeper thing in the game, but that's about it for him. Super 17 can do blast damage. Ultra UI has his snipe. Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, especially in Proud Battle, cooks up, and Beast Gohan for this vanish removal alongside Ultimate Gohan. If you want to run him with Majin Buu Saga, he's also a movies unit as well. But for the honorable mentions, these guys here, I feel they could have easily made the list. Easily. But it's literally micro assessments, like it's literally just by like this much. It's so small of a gap between a lot of the honorable mentions and the 10th spot. But with my 10th decision, I've decided to leave it as is. So Rage Shenron, I feel like he's being used almost every single game when you see Omega Shenron. If you see powerful opponents, if you see GT, just simply because of his paralyzed, he's not to be slept on. Broly, when he fills his gauge, is a real problem. He breaks your combos. He's obviously not no UG4, but it's still very difficult to get over without a Rising Rush. Goku and Piccolo here, I believe they cancel buffs that makes them really annoying to Rising Rush or try to do some big attacks, so it's hard to get through them, especially when they're paired with Garlic Jr. He has endurance, so it's very difficult to get through. Corrupted Zamasu being used with Fusion Warriors. He's also God Key and powerful opponents. He has every tag as well. He's similar to Super Baby 2 and Evil Majin Buu, especially in Proud Battle. He's being run alongside Ultimate Gohan almost all the time, so that buff cancellation, that combo breakage is super valuable, especially if Omega Shenron can be used as a green. Evil Majin Buu can as well. But like I said, these guys are just right outside the top 10 just because I feel like the 10th spot is basically a stronger position than these guys. But if you had any of these guys at like the 10th spot, I'm not gonna cry too much, you know. I'm not saying I agree, but it's not ridiculous. Right, so at number 10 we've got the legendary Super Saiyan Broly. Broly hasn't moved me really. I've seen a lot of people have him higher, around 7 or 6, but from my experience of playing him, it's been really ridiculous to see him at 7 or 6 in my opinion. He isn't bad, he's a good option to have, especially if you are a Broly enjoyer, but I feel like for how his kit is built, you have to work very hard to not get super good results. He's kind of the unit that depends on how good of a player you are, rather than just autopiloting you to victory. He does have some good things that I do like. For example, when he transforms, he's able to get his vanish back. I feel like depending on the player, that can be utilized very efficiently, and I find most of the cases where Broly is performing against me, or even from the clips I've seen, it's simply because a lot of people underestimate him. So something, it's not hard to forget, but it's also easy to kind of get around depending on the team you're using. You know how he's supposed to have the similar thing to Ultra UI, where if you try cover change, he will drag you back in. That person will get their 10 timer counts up, do a bit of damage to you, and then you have to deal with the rest of the combo, right? In most cases, that can get around depending on the two characters you're using. So let's say I'm running Majin Buu Saga, right? I could easily do that with, let's say I'm using Shin on one side. I make sure to get out with Shin. Then on the other side, I'm being comboed right now with Evil Majin Buu, and then on the other side I have Ultimate Gohan. Evil Majin Buu cancels the boss, and I can switch out to Ultimate Gohan, you know. So it's not difficult to get around, especially if you play your cards right. Also depends on what units are on his team, you know. But for the most part, I don't feel like it's that crazy of a kit when you're looking at Broly. There are some good things, like he goes type neutral on main, that's post transformation. His card draw speed is actually quite insane. He's able to do long combos. That's actually surprised me. In a few cases he gets a few additionals when he defeats an enemy, so he's not bad overall. I just feel like he's not that great on any team that he's on. So I think the best team would be to run him on Powerful Opponents, simply because Powerful Opponents is one of the better teams. Even though you might want to put him on Movies, Movies haven't really budged with the release of Broly is what I've seen. It's not that you can't use Movies and it's not like a good team. I'm not trying to say that at all. But in comparison to the top teams in the game, Powerful Opponents, Majin Buu Saga, Fusion Warrior, you could even put GT above Movies in my opinion. It's still a slight tier below. And that I would say is an attribute of Broly not having as much impact as people thought he might, or for the character that he is, the influence he's put into the game as a kit, the kit that he holds, it hasn't done as much. So that's why he's taken the 10th spot. But I don't think he's bad. I've been seeing him quite a lot, but maybe that's because of preference. But I feel like depending on whatever the next unit is, you're going to see a lot less of him or more of him, depending on how things go. So he might shift up. He could easily just leave the top 10 in my opinion, but I don't feel like he's anything amazing by himself, but he is a good choice to run. So yeah, he's my number 10 spot. Let me know what you guys think about that. I've seen him way higher, but I don't feel like that's necessary. I'm not gonna lie. This shift on Gogeta is gonna hurt a lot of people, but I'm actually hurt to put him at 9, but I will explain in grave detail why he's here. So Gogeta it should go without saying, he's not a bad unit. You could use him and get amazing results, but there are a couple reasons why he's had a great shift from easily a top 3-4 standard to kind of on his way out. I don't feel like he's going to leave the top 10. At least in my list, he shouldn't leave the top 10. It depends on what they drop next. If they drop another red, then it's a different story. If they drop another Fusion Warrior, it could also be a different story. We'll just have to see though. Also, if they drop another yellow, because the next unit is going to be Movies, it could also be a different story. But cool. Gogeta Blue, right? On Fusion Warriors, I feel like his main issue is that he's been replaced as a third option. The game has moved into a survivability factor game, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed that when you play PvP, you're fighting against teams that have a lot of endurance. They have Indestructible because of Omega, and you might even see Comeback with Golden Frieza, maybe the slight revival here and there, not really though. And when PvP is like that, it means that you need somebody to protect your team. Otherwise, you're going to be running a team with all just 3 lives, where everybody else has like extra lives. Endurance basically gives you 2, Comeback Revival gives you 2, Indestructible is basically a second life. So everybody's running a type of team where you have second lives. There's a lot of buff cancellation as well, especially on Majin Buu Saga. Now, specifically on Fusion Warriors, with the release of Omega Shenron, I think he's one of the biggest reasons why Gogeta Blue has lost a lot of value. And that sounds so backwards, and I know a lot of you guys are not going to get, but as a high rank, and I know a lot of high rankers understand this as well, Omega Shenron's being leader slotted on Fusion Warriors, and he is a Fusion Warrior himself. And I always use this argument when it comes to units. You need to think of who is the best unit for your team. When you think of a team, you're thinking of the first 3 that you're going to pick when you're going to run that team. And I promise you, with all of the high rankers, people are choosing Omega over Gogeta Blue. And the reason that is simply because of the Indestructible. Now, straight away, some of you guys might be thinking, that doesn't make sense, G4's in the game. Normally, that would be how it applies. But because Omega Shenron's also not fodder, he's not trash, the Indestructible layer is way more valuable than having that extra bit of damage that Gogeta Blue can supply. Now, we all know his Strike Assault is super useful in countering gauges, specifically G4s, and that was why he had a lot of value, especially with G4 being purple and Ultimate Gohan existing. You can also add Golden Frieza to that conversation and Ultra Broly. Even Garlic Jr. is in the conversation, you know, that guy is a brick wall, not even going to lie. So Gogeta Strike Assault is obviously valued because of that, but let's not look over the fact that it's been flawed. When you're pressing the strike arts and whatnot, you're not drawing any cards, and that's the only situation you can get cover now. And then you have to start the chain for it to take action. So if you cover change before he starts chaining, you're basically free. You know, it's easy to get around if you're paying attention, and that is also another reason why his value has decreased. But he was really high value before because Ultimate Gohan G4 and Omega Shenron didn't exist. Now, another thing I want to point out is Red Broly existing. His release also attributes to Gogeta's decrease in value. I still think Gogeta is better than Broly, but with Broly releasing, obviously Red is an attribute against the yellow. And with lots of people running Broly, even though I don't think Broly is that amazing, he is still good. Gogeta is losing value because of that as well. But if you are replaced on your main team, so on Fusion Warriors, we have Fusing Super Vegito, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is obviously the #1 pick. If you're picking Fusion Warriors, if you don't have G4, just put the fries in the bag, forget about running the team. But Fusing Super Vegito, without a doubt, should be your second pick because of the Rising Rush mechanic. So the third, what people were running before, would be either GB or Corrupted Zamasu, and even then it was a 50-50 split on who you think might be better. Now Corrupted Zamasu isn't as valuable because of the survivability factor. I already showed you why that's valuable. but Gogeta Blue, most likely than not, because of the purples, would have been your third pick. But because everybody's trying to stay alive and not just be one-shotted, you know, back then when G4 released, which isn't long ago, everybody was running 3 units that are just so overpowered. Because G4 was so overpowered, it just made the most sense. But now with the addition of Majin Buu Saga being formed, Ultimate Gohan has endurance and buff cancellation, Kid Buu's on that team too, and then we look at GT, powerful opponent, regeneration, these tags here, Omega Shenron's on pretty much all of those, keeping the team alive. Kid Buu's on pretty much all of those, keeping the team alive as well. There's these factors that keep popping up that factor against the Gogeta being a pick. But yeah, Fusion Warriors, Omega Shenron's just a better choice because everyone's using him because he's got the survivability factor. Is there any other reasons as to why Gogeta Blue's lost value? No. Other than that, I actually want to give him appraisal because I feel like he's going to shift up and down in the upcoming months a lot. He's going to shift a lot. He's going to go from like 4 to like 8 to like 2 maybe to like 9 again. He's going to be going up and down because his value isn't dependent on himself. It depends on how the meta is shaped. Maybe Omega Shenron would die out and then Gogeta Blue will be more valuable on Fusion Warriors. They drop another purple, then you swap out Omega for GB. Obviously, it's not only Fusion Warriors he's being running, but if we compare Fusion Warriors to sagas from the movies or God Key, clearly one's a better team, so I'm just going to focus on that team. It's not about him being a good option, it's about me micro-assessing who the better option is. And if you're not picking Omega over Gogeta Blue, if you had the choice, that's quite insane. All God rankers are doing that right now. Alright, so we got 7 and 8, and I'm really stuck here. But boy, Garlic Jr. is a sleeper option. I'm not advising you summon on him, but this guy here has really shocked me in terms of how valuable he can be on the battlefield. But we also have Golden Frieza here, but I'm going to talk about Garlic Jr. first. I personally have Garlic Jr. just a slight edge above just because he's more recent, so more people are running him. But don't sleep on Golden Frieza, I'll explain about him in a second. So Garlic Jr. here, I will outright say he is the tankiest unit in the game. He is outright the strongest unit defensively in the game. He has Hall of Fame brick wall, and the amount he heals is super scary. I believe in one combo for every art card he does, he heals like 7 times post transformation. And just to add on top of that, he has endurance. That just doesn't help. It just doesn't help. This guy here, he is a very sleeper option. I'm not going to lie. It doesn't matter what element you are. You could be damn near yellow times 10. You are not breaking through Garlic Jr. easily. I've tried so many times using, because I've been using Gogeta Blue a lot just out of preference because I like his Strike Assault animation. And boy, Garlic Jr. does not lose health. Every time I've taken out Garlic Jr., it's been because of a Rising Rush. In most cases, I'm using Gogeta Blue with using Super Vegito, so I'll just rush. If the rush don't go through, I'm cooked because this guy here is eating up everything. But even slightly on the offensive end, his main ability I find has caught me off guard. It has caught me off guard, especially when I'm running Kid Buu. I don't have Ultimate Gohan, so I'm not using too much endurance whenever I'm playing the game anyways. But it's super useful anyways for any character that cancels buffs, nullifies endurance off main ability. He does that. He presses the main ability, he's able to nullify your endurance. Corrupted Zamasu does that, Ultra UI does that, and I think it's a good way to get over the likes of like Ultimate Gohan, who easily is able to cancel buffs if you do a big attack or a Rising Rush. If you're able to nullify endurance through a strike and blast starts because on your main ability you've activated that attribute, it's super useful to get around any unit in the game that has that survivability. So Garlic Jr. here, he is also a movies unit, so he hasn't got his perfect team at the moment. People are running him with Piccolo and Goku, or they're leader slotting him just because of how tanky he is. He's a sleeper unit in terms of value. He's a Mega Rising unit, so I think his value is obviously going to be lower just on a popularity basis in terms of the general bias of what people are using. But if you ever run into this guy here at a decent star level, I'm talking just 7. It doesn't even need to be the 9 that I usually say, just 7. He's going to be a problem, especially with him being on the boost as well. That's also one of the factors that actually got him slightly above Gogeta Blue. Gogeta Blue's come off the boost, and that's made quite the hit on him, I found. But yeah, Garlic Jr., don't sleep on him. He can output a bit of damage, but he's also going to take all the hits he needs and heal a lot back. But now let's go into Golden Frieza, right? So Golden Frieza, I have him here because I found a lot of people are still using Golden Frieza just because of how consistent he is as a damage outputter. And I think that's simply because of the fact that he gets juiced when he's being run. He has the Zenkai buffs from heaven to hell. and that's enough to make him look like a prime unit again. I have a 5-star Golden Frieza, and he does as much damage as my G4 depending on how I run the team. His individual value is enough to keep him high ranking. I'm not saying he's going to be the most consistently used unit, but in terms of his individual value, it's one of the highest in the game. But that could be attributed to the Zenkai buffs as well, but we're not really going to downplay somebody just because they have the option of Zenkai buffs. If it's easy to access them, if it's easy to run them, and they also have the survivability factor, it's going to be someone you're going to see pop up a lot. If we compare him to the likes of Super 17, you're going to see Golden Frieza pop up a lot, especially in comparison to Super 17. And Super 17 himself, right, he also has access to a bunch of Zenkai buffs. So the argument could be said that Super 17 could be on the same level as Golden Frieza, as we know Super 17's peak was obviously super high. But that's not the case, and the reason is simply because Golden Frieza performs at a more efficient rate. Golden Frieza's green card gives him Cover No, it gives him Cards, it gives him Vanish, that gives him a high 3v1 ceiling. On top of the fact that his teammates are super useful. So you could run him on Powerful Opponent, he has Kid Buu there, he has Evil Majin Buu, you could run him with obviously the typical, so you got First Form Frieza, you can attach some other guys. I didn't even mention Super Baby 2 is a good option to have, even I run him with a Corrupted Zamasu a lot. He's also on movies with all of the units I've mentioned already, so he has a lot of teams he can hop on. Pause. But that also gives him a lot of value in the team's aspect, his individual aspect. He has a lot of access to Zenkai buffs, his equipments are amazing. So I think he's simply going to stay in the running because he's one of those units, because he has everything. He's one of those units that have everything. I think that's a lot to give one unit. Even G4 doesn't have no survivability. If you rush him, he's done. Golden Frieza, he's got the comeback. He's going to punish you as well when you take out his life. Then he's going to do damage. Green card just gets better every time he loses an enemy. Overall, just a super efficient unit for a solo unit. He doesn't need allies to help him, and I think that's where his value comes from more than him being meta relevant. It doesn't matter what meta you're in. I feel like Golden Frieza is one of those units that's going to age the best. He probably has one of the best aging ultra kits that we've probably ever seen. That might be a hot take, but you guys will see in time because of the fact that he has those Zenkai buff options. His kit has his own survivability, and he does high damage with his green card being as efficient as it is. You just can't beat that in an individual kit, man. But yeah, these guys are my 7th and 8th option. I think they're good picks as well, but you guys might disagree. Let me know in the comment section below. Next up, we got my favorite op. This guy is my favorite op, man. I don't have him, I hate to fight him, but I love to glaze him. We got Super Gauge 2, Gageoraga, Maharaga. I've given him so many nicknames because this guy is so great, but he's so underrated at the exact same time. Now, Super Baby 2 over here, right? Super Baby 2. His element choice is amazing. I think he could easily be put up as the best yellow in the game. He does everything you need him to do. He can be the offensive powerhouse that you want to run. He snipes pretty much everybody if his gauge is full with his ultimate arts. I've seen him one-shot G4 too many times, especially mine who's at 14 stars. He could also do a lot of damage to Ultimate Gohan, but you know how Ultimate Gohan rolls. Especially with the fact that he locks in if his gauge is full when he hits the ultimate, so he's a true sniper. But also on the defensive end, don't let the adaptation wheel spin. I'm talking about his gauge. Once his gauge fills, he's going to bring down hell on you. He's breaking that combo. I think he's gonna take some of your cards too. He's gonna get buffs on his ultimate because his gauge fills. That wheel of adaptation, once his gauge fills, he becomes an absolute monster. But he's not the selfish king that you might think he is. This guy here also comes with team support. He's going to make the team that he's on anti-Saiyan, and that's super well if you're running him on powerful opponents, because a lot of powerful opponents hate Saiyans. So that's super valuable, especially with the likes of G4 and fusing Super Vegito being very relevant in the game. His element is a good choice. I don't know if I spoke about that already, but him being yellow is just a very big counter to the top 2 units in the game, in my opinion. Well, top tier units in the game specifically. Ultimate Gohan, G4 should go without saying. So he's in a good position. He's on one of the best teams as well, powerful opponent. You could run him on GT as well, which is also a very good team, and it hosts the best unit in the game, G4. He's just in a very good position all around. He's also greedy with it. He's got like every tag in the game. Saiyan, Regen, powerful opponent, GT. He pretty much all the relevant tags right now he has. So he's doing a lot, and I simply feel bad for his spotlight. He never got really a time to shine because of his release. Now, he released right before the anniversary, pretty much, so at a time where he's already not a hype character, and if he's going to release right before the anniversary, let's be honest, even if you see this in hindsight, you're not swapping out possibly summoning on Super Baby 2 to then miss out on fusing Super Vegeta and fusing Gogeta Blue. Just out of preference, that's not happening. That's just not happening. So the timing of his release didn't do him any favors. But even though it didn't do him any favors, that doesn't disregard how much value he can have in the game. And because he's also being used on so many different teams, I think he deserves this hype of a placement. Also, just want to point out, from 6 onwards up, I'm so stuck on like the list being strict. 7, 8, 9, 10, I was very shaky on the order to put them on. Even right now, I'm not too confident on the order I've put them in. But from 6 upwards, I think I'm very, very like correct in this sense. I might die on the hill. But 7, 8, 9, 10, I might be getting flamed for. That's cool. But I think from this point onwards, we're going to be really, really rolling with the placements of these units. Number 5 on this list, the new Fusion Warrior in town, and calling him that is genuinely not genuine. Out of all things I could have called him, I'm calling him a Fusion Warrior. He is a Fusion Warrior, but damn man, Omega Shenron, you owe your whole soul on everybody's soul, in the chat. If this guy did not have Indestructible, he will be fodder. Indestructible is carrying this guy so hard. You guys do not even understand. Survivability is really the name of the game right now. If you have something that's going to keep you alive past the point I kill you, you are good. Even if it's as simple as endurance, it makes a big difference in people's decision making. Specifically Indestructible, you are good. This guy also has the sub count reduction, so that you purposely have to hit him if you try to hit anything major. He's trying to get in your way, so you take out his first life and you have to deal with him a second time. If he did not have Indestructible, his kit, he would be washed. He's not terrible even regardless of that, but he is not making a top 5 stand. Him even being up here is all praise to his Indestructible, but I do like him for that. He does his job. He's on the team, he can do a bit of output. He comes with 2 ultimates. I think he gets one from his green card, then he gets another one from main ability. Obviously he has the type that you throw as well, so it's slightly different as well. He does a lot of blast damage, super good as well. He has a bit of combo breakage, he can heal. He has good teammates as well. With his release, he dropped with Rage Shenron, so a lot of people are pairing him consistently with Rage Shenron. That's very good because Rage Shenron being yellow protects Omega Shenron from purples. Purples obviously being advantage to green, but weak to yellow. So his banner was pretty much set to put him in stone and put him in a good position, and he has obtained that position. On Fusion Warriors, he swiped the role of the 3rd most valuable Fusion Warrior. He's obviously not better than Gogeta 4 and Fusing Super Vegeta. Fusing Super Vegeta's Rising Rush is saving too many people's lives right now, but because you don't need that yellow as often right now, because the Indestructible is just way more valuable than Striker Sword right now, people are running Omega Shenron over Gogeta Blue, and that's just the name of the game. But on top of that, Omega Shenron also fits on a lot of other powerful teams, specifically, no pun intended, powerful opponent. He's on GT2. He can feel a regeneration. How greedy, man. He got the tags galore. I don't feel like I need to say much about him as well. If you played PvP, you would know that he's up there and being run consistently, especially if you are a high ranker. I don't have him, but damn, I hate to fight him, man. Even in Proud Battle, he's a very much more inconvenient unit to deal with in Proud Battle, where there's no Zenkai buffs to save you to do damage, so he's able to tank a lot better and more efficiently. You'd think that he'd get melted all the time by G4, but remember, the game is a 3v3 game. Just one unit is not going to make you lose so much value. The fact that even a green can be up here with so many purples relevant is attributes how valuable he is because of his Indestructible. I wouldn't just put him up here for sake. I have no reason to glaze Omega Shenron. Have you ever met an Omega Shenron glazer? I'll be damned if I'm the first. But boy, this guy has proven himself, I'm not gonna lie. I classed him as an unnecessary unit. You don't really need him, and I'll still stand on that depending on who you have. If you have a full Majin Buu saga, on God you don't need this guy. And you can still use Fusion Warriors without him, but boy is it easier to run Fusion Warriors with him. So he's very valuable, but not in the sense that he shifts the whole game, but he's doing a lot in the sense that if you don't have the options available, he is another good option to run, especially against the likes of Majin Buu Saga. I actually hate Majin Buu Saga. They have everything they need. Everything. But yeah, number 5 option, we got Omega Shenron. Number 4 on this list, we've got Kid Buu. Now, Kid Buu, the come up is real. I'll give it to you. When you first came out as a Zenkai, most of the people didn't have you Zenkai 7, so they weren't running you. But boy, has your value been seen by the community. This guy's blast damage is so annoying, and the fact that he gets cover null is perfect. They gave him endurance, which is maybe a bit excessive, but it's giving him a lot of value, especially considering he's on Majin Buu Saga. Majin Buu Saga is probably top 2 teams in the game, if not 2, I think it's 1. The variations of teams that you can run with Kid Buu as well. He's on Powerful Opponents alone. He's on Majin Buu Saga. Top 3 teams in the game, both of those. You can run them on Regeneration, which is kind of Powerful Opponents, but it's also in that branch of a top team. Kid Buu also has his useful Vanish Recovery, and having the extra endurance layer is super nice. Now, this guy, with what I just explained, you're probably thinking, all of that isn't that great. But you have to think about who he's being run with. That's what really makes him dangerous. I find a lot of people don't actually understand how scary Majin Buu Saga is if you're not running also Majin Buu Saga. Majin Buu Saga's ability to survive on the battlefield, they will beat you, they will outrun you. Literally just because they're healing, tanking your hits, and you can't break through their attacks because they cancel buffs and they have the survivability. On the Majin Buu Saga, the teams that I see him most often, I would see him with Evil Majin Buu, Ultimate Gohan, and UT Kid Buu. 2 or 3 of those people nullify the cancel buffs. Evil Majin Buu does, and Ultimate Gohan does. So, if you rush anybody on that team, that's not Kid Buu. It's using your best case scenario, fusing Super Vegito, right? Your boss will get cancelled, and you're going to rush somebody. 1, Evil Majin Buu, he could probably tank it. Obviously, on cover chains, fusing Super Vegito gets type neutral, but that's a very niche case. It's only 1 unit. In every other case, you're not getting through. Do you know what I mean? Especially if you are a blue, or even just his ability to tank at full health can be insane. But Ultimate Gohan's definitely not dying if the buffs are cancelled, and then Kid Buu's endurance comes in handy. You also see Kid Buu on a blast team with Omega Shenron. Omega Shenron also has indestructible, so no matter what team you're running him on, you pretty much got 2 sets of survivability, which is super greedy. So why, when I'm playing PvP as a Fusion Warrior main, especially in my case, I'm running up against Kid Buu and I'm having to get through damn near 6 lives. 6 lives fighting only 3 units. How does that make sense? You tell me, where are the maths there? I'm fighting 3 units, but there's 6 lives. Everybody got 2 souls now. It's really inconvenient, and on top of that, they're doing as much damage as my Fusion Warrior team. But I find that simply because this unit here is range type alongside Omega Shenron. So when you have a range type unit, most teams run strike damage that are like super popular. When you always get Saiyans and like Fusion Warriors and things like that, the super hype characters, they often come as a melee type. So by default, slightly, I know it doesn't directly correlate, but you won't have a lot of blast defense, and that just forces you into taking a lot of blast damage, on top of the fact that these guys also have a lot of blast damage in their kits. So overall, Kid Buu, he deserves props. I'd even talk about his main ability. It's actually quite insane. I can actually bring it up. I should have been doing this whole video, but his main ability, literally cancelling enemy attributes, sealing arts cards, this specifically strikes, so your cards are going to be locked a lot. He's going to get health from that, and his ultimate absolutely nukes. It absolutely nukes. So many people sleep on his ultimate. I've been using him a lot as well. I've even paired him alongside Super 17, which is another sleeper team. The amount of green card like cheese you can do with those 2 units. Super 17 obviously having his absorption, but Kid Buu getting his vanish back, and then I think he draws a blast card as well. Let me actually just fact check that for you guys. But yeah, he draws a blast card, so his combo extension is super good, and he's getting a damage buff and draw speed from that. Greedy, man. At first, obviously, like I said, a lot of people didn't see his value because of the teams that were being used, but now survivability is the name of the game, and most of the teams that have survivability are being run on Kid Buu's teams. It just makes sense that he's this high. But obviously, I think people could debate this with Omega Shenron, but I'm stuck on having Kid Buu above him. I feel like having a unit that also has survivability but is probably doing more damage is way more valuable. Kid Buu's damage, I've seen him do way bigger numbers than Omega Shenron. I've never seen Omega Shenron do as much numbers as Kid Buu does, man. So yeah, that's my number 4 pick. Zenkai Kid Buu, you deserve your props. If you notice, when I have an interchangeable option, I always put the unit that I think is better on the screen. So in this case, I think Ultimate Gohan has the slight edge over fusing Super Vegito, and I don't think this should be a hot take, but I am micro-assessing to get my answer in this, meaning that I'm really nitpicking to give you guys the answer that you probably want to see. But I feel most people will also understand that these units can easily be interchangeable for obvious reasons. Now, I'm going to start talking about Ultimate Gohan first because I think he's better. Ultimate Gohan, boy, Ultimate Gohan. His real only competition when it comes to an individual kit is G4. This guy here is the best or the second best unit in the game as an individual unit. G4, I think he's just too much in the stratosphere of his own. He's so oppressive, and because of his counter, you have to deal with him 4 times if you don't rush him or somehow one-shot him. One of the units that I think can one-shot him is specifically Super Baby 2, but we're not here to talk about that. Ultimate Gohan here has endurance, right? We already know that, but it's not just the endurance that makes him so valuable. It's his ability to cancel buffs from blue cards, ultimates, and rising rushes. If any of those activate, he will cancel your buff. So if you're not somebody that permanently nullifies endurance, surprise, surprise, pretty much everybody in the game doesn't do that. You are not killing him if you rush him and nullify endurance. You are not killing him if you have an ultimate that nullifies endurance. You're not killing him if you have a blue card that nullifies endurance. The only way to catch this boy lacking is to either hit him 3 times with a combination of those things, so he has no more of the ability to cancel buffs, or you catch him on the cover change. But no, you cannot catch him on the cover change very consistently. You know why? Because his teammates also cancel buffs. He's being run with Evil Majin Buu almost all the time. All the time. It's actually really annoying. Evil Majin Buu cancelling buffs. You think you're safe, right? You rush Evil Majin Buu with Fusing Super Video. Cool. He just switches out to Ultimate Gohan, because on the odd scenario that you do win the Rising Rush, you're going to kill Evil Majin Buu. So he just makes sure to sack off the endurance of Ultimate Gohan. But that's not it. I never even got to the toxic stuff. That's already toxic alone. That's just his defensive side. On the offensive end, his main ability just removes your vanish. For the free ski, he has a blue card every 2.5 seconds. Don't ask how. He also has a green card every 2.5 seconds. Don't ask how. His damage is insane. And on top of that, when you do all of those big attacks that I spoke about, so ultimate blue card, rising rush, he is going to take a portion, nom, and he's going to heal. This guy's healing factor. The blue card damage, the ultimate damage that you're probably going to do when you press those cards, he healed it back, and you're just going to take it back down. So let's say he's on 2 million health. He has 3 million health as a max, just hypothetically, right? Just so you can get the numbers visually. Your blue card is going to do 800k. He heals 800k. So then you took him from 2 mil to 2 mil, because he went from 2 mil to 2.8. Then he went back to 2 mil. So what was the point of pressing the blue card? There was just no point. You just lost the card out your deck. You lost your key, but you didn't get an item. You didn't get anything from that. You don't gain anything when you're fighting this guy, and it's really annoying to deal with. You gotta just break him down through pure consistency. You need to actually be the better player to beat Ultimate Gohan. You're not gonna beat him by luck. You're not gonna beat him by chance. You need to be consistent in damaging this guy to get over him. But then also when he's doing damage towards you, it's going to be super easy. Oh, throwing a blue card every 5 seconds. Mad annoying. We got to give him his props. Anyways, his element's also nice, but that's just also like a side note. Let's go into Fusing Super Vegito now. So, Fusing Super Vegito, again, in a similar sense to Omega Shenron, on everybody's soul. Fusing Super Vegito would not be cold as he is. Not top 2 debate, even, let's just say top 3. He would not be in a top 3 debate if he did not have his Rising Rush mechanic. But I know that's a dumb argument. I've seen so many people say that on Twitter, and I'm even echoing that dumb argument, because it's like, oh yeah, take out his main mechanic, then say he's going to be trash. Shock. Obviously, he's going to be trash if you take out his main mechanic. His kit revolved around his main mechanic, and that's why he's goated. That's why he's good. The Rising Rush thing, I think it's honestly a top 3 mechanic in the game. It shouldn't exist. I think it's so bad and so overpowered that it shouldn't exist. The ability to win Rising Rushes will never be nerfed, as in they will always exist in Dragon Ball Legends. At the maximum, they might make it so that you only get 1 Rising Rush per game, because I feel like realistically, you know, the Dragon Balls have some despawn time. It's not instant, man. The way you be Rising Rushing with Vegito, you think they just have the ability to get the Dragon Balls immediately after they use them, which isn't consistent with the plot line. But obviously, Fusing Super Vegito don't give a damn. He has the fastest synchro gauge in the game. It's not really an argument because he's only debating against one other character. But the way he synchros is super good. So let me give you a scenario, right? You start the game, you got a green card. You press the green card, you tag switch. You might get another green card instantly. I believe it's if he's faced with another person, you get a green card. You made green card again, you tag switch. You've already got 50% of your synchro. You do one more combo, you get another 25% of your synchro. And then maybe you lose the next priority. Now you can synchro. Also, if somebody dies on your team, you can immediately synchro. And then all those times that you were doing combos to try and get your synchro up, you can also get Dragon Balls, which by the time you transform, you also get a Dragon Ball off transforming. You already hit your Rising Rush. There's no worries with Rising Rushing because you're always going to win. So even if you're fighting a team with survivability, aka the likes of Powerful Opponent, Regeneration, Majin Buu Saga, just hit it, man. Even if they have endurance, you might as well take out that first life. He's going to get a second Rising Rush by the time the enemy gets there first. Also, in addition to G4 having his ultimate, which reduces enemy Dragon Balls, so you're probably going to get your second Rising Rush by the time they get there first. So there's no worry when you're using Super Vegito. If the person switches out into a green for the first 2 to 3 timer counts, I believe it is, you're able to get type neutral, so his Rising Rushes are very likely to kill everybody. If you're type neutral on your Rising Rushes, you're going to kill. With Vegito just being Vegito and doing high damage, you're going to take that body out. You might have to take out one of their first lives because depending on who you rush, they might have cancelled your buffs. But of course, that's just the name of the game. Survivability is very predominant in today's age. So overall, he can do amazing combos. One thing I also found that's super good, that's a very sleeper thing I just want to mention. We all know that G4 is the best character in the game. But with G4, when his counter activates, he destroys your cards. And Vegito, let's say he didn't have a vanish and you activated G4's counter, right? Vegito, every time he draws a card, he gets vanish back 10%, I believe. But on top of that, he's also just drawing his vanish, getting his vanish back slowly. So by the time G4 actually tries to full screen you, even if you didn't have a vanish, you've already got your vanish back because Vegito benefits from drawing cards. So G4 is indirectly buffing him or helping him by destroying his cards when he hits his counter. So he's also very useful in that scenario as well. He's also just on good teams as well. Surprise, surprise, Super Vegito's from Majin Buu Saga. Just greedy, just greedy. He's on Fusion Warriors, of course. He's on Son Family, which is not being used as much, so I'm not even going to prop it like that because I didn't prop it for anybody else. But it's really just Fusion Warriors and Majin Buu Saga that he's being used on. You don't see him leader slotted, so this is my argument for Ultimate Gohan being slightly better than Fusing Super Vegito. Ultimate Gohan, he's good enough as a solo unit that he's being leader slotted. I do understand the value of Fusing Super Vegito's Rising Rush. If there's anybody that understands it, it's me. But that alone isn't enough to win a whole game in some cases. You're still going to need a unit that can do a lot more. And Ultimate Gohan, surprise, surprise, it shouldn't be debated. He does a lot more outside of the Rising Rush argument. I think the Rising Rush weighs more than Ultimate Gohan's whole kit. But that's not to say Vegito's better than Ultimate Gohan. I simply just think a Rising Rush is the best mechanic in the game to do damage. That shouldn't be a debate either. It's literally a super mechanic that everybody has access to, but Vegito guarantees a win. Ultimate Gohan, as a solo unit, he's able to cancel buffs and keeps you safe defensively. Fusing Super Vegito doesn't defend you. He doesn't help you on the defensive end. He's just a pure offensive powerhouse. And I think that's where Ultimate Gohan gets more value on other teams. So a team I've seen people run him on is Fusion Warrior. Purple, purple, blue with G4, which is not, it's a weird team, but I think it's super overpowered. Having G4 the best unit in the game, having the top 2 and 3 unit in the game, depending on what order you want to put on all the same team, is super greedy. It's Fusion Warriors with Ultimate Gohan. That's nuts. That's nuts, man. That is super crazy. So if we're talking about team options and the value added to a team, I think Ultimate Gohan easily takes the cake. And that's me micro-assessing to get the answer of Ultimate Gohan being better. But Fusing Super Vegito can easily add an insane amount of value just because of his rush having to go through every single time. And that will give you a lead immediately if you want to use your Rising Rush early. You get a second Rising Rush. I've even got stages where I've Rising Rush 3 times just because I was farming Dragon Balls with Fusing Super Vegito. So yeah, that's my answer for who I think is second. But I could see an argument where you choose the rush option to guarantee a kill, and it easily gets you the upper hand over Ultimate Gohan's kit of, like, you slightly have to work harder, you know, compared to a Rising Rush. You could still get picked, you still face that risk, you know. But I think long game, Ultimate Gohan could easily is the better individual unit long game. But if you want that quick answer, which is a Rising Rush, Vegito get the upper hand. That's why they're interchangeable. Surprise, surprise, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is #1 on the tier list. I am concerned for this guy's age. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how well he's gonna age. He is everything you need in a unit right now. He's obviously the best unit in the game, so I don't need to go too much into it. If you're disagreeing with me, I think you're kind of missing a loose screw or something. I don't know. I'm also going to talk about how long he's going to be #1. So I think this guy here, he doesn't have the greatest defenses. A lot of people realize that immediately. His defenses aren't great, but his defenses aren't meant to be great because his whole idea is to be untouchable. When his untouchable counter, his gauge fills, he heals a lot anyways. On switching, he's gradually healing. So if you build him to heal and to defend, right, on top of the fact he has his counter, he will naturally do damage anyways. He's meant to be the most oppressive force in the game. He's meant to basically keep you in a chokehold. Even if you have priority over him, he's gonna fill his gauge fills, you can't rise and rush, right? That's super annoying. Super annoying. Overall, you have to get a minimum of 4 priorities or rise and rush him in a very ideal scenario. So he switches in and you get a drop combo, and in that one card that you do when you drop combo or something, he doesn't get his gauge filled and you rush. He's unable to switch out for whatever reason, or you catch him on an unlucky switch and you rush, or you catch him mid play, so maybe he strikes you and you press the rise and rush, so you crash into him with a rise and rush, and you know the rise and rush overpowers the strike cards. It's very difficult to get rid of him. A minimum of 4 priorities is needed to beat him if you aren't taking him out via a one shot, so an ultimate or a rising rush. Blue cards sometimes can take him out, but it depends on how many stars you have, of course. So overall, he is just the better unit. Having to attack somebody, get the chance to hit them with strike cards, and then they just backflip out, and you have to do that 4 times. Am I fighting a Elden Ring boss? Is this a new Super Mario Bros. Bowser Castle? Having to hit him 3 times plus just to take him out and get the key to get my Princess Peach. I want to just win, and it's super annoying fighting this guy. As a G4 user, I make it super annoying to beat me as well. I don't really need to prop him a lot more than that. I think everybody knows why he's annoying, why he's the best unit in the game. He's an ultra of the Ore, not just any ultra, the literal 6th anniversary ultra, so he's meant to be a very high ceiling in the game. Goes without saying. And I think overall, he might be here for maybe up until the festival. Depending on what they drop, I don't see them dropping a lot more yellows, but they've done that before with fusing Ultra Vegito Blue. I said fusing Ultra. What am I talking about? Ultra Vegito Blue, where they dropped blues back to back to back trying to kill that boy. So I don't see it being unreasonable that they drop more yellows to try and take this guy out, or put everybody else in a safer position, so that if you don't have G4, or if you still want to deal with G4, you know, you can take him out. And I think that makes a lot of sense, but we'll have to see going forward. But yeah, this is the #1 unit on my tier list, G4. Now, this is something I've been doing going forward when I make these videos now, these tier list videos, and I feel like it's very important. Everybody does this. Once you finish your tier list, you look at it, you just stare at it, maybe for like a couple minutes, and you give your opinion on your own tier list, because in hindsight, it's a lot easier to judge something when you're looking at a finished product than when you're building it yourself. Now, looking at the tier list, I'm not mad at Broly being 10. I feel like Gogeta, people might want to move him higher, but that's more so because a lot of people just use him. It's all they have, you know. Lots of people are definitely not choosing Ultra Golden Frieza over Gogeta Blue. But I feel like if you had a high star Ultra Golden Frieza, he's going to perform better than Gogeta Blue. And Garlic Jr. is a Mega Rising banner, so the player bias and the choosing options or the preference is going to go against these guys here. It even goes against Super Baby too, but this is a meta tier list on who's more valuable to be used right now. Not based on simply who you have, but that is slightly factored in. These are all relevant units. It's something that should be noted. If I was to like make any changes, like I said, I think the 6 upwards is perfect. So I would be making changes on my own tier list from 7, 8, 9, 10. And I think these could be swapped around to your liking. Like I said, I'm not super confident in this Super Baby 2 section, number 6. I said I wasn't super confident in like the ordering of the list from 7 to 10. But for sure, it's going to be from these units. I've seen some people try to include Piccolo and Goku, but I simply think they don't have enough meta presence or do enough to be chosen over any of these guys. I've seen a lot of people choose Ultra Broly, but also I think he's a preference option as well. He's not tankier, in my experience anyways, than Garlic Jr., and the 2 life function is just better than anything Ultra Broly can do, in my opinion. Rage Shenron, I've seen him more than 1, 2, 3, and 4, but he alone doesn't do anything. He's just a good addition to the already existing GT powerful opponent. He's not powerful, GT regen, but powerful opponent / regen. It's pretty much the same thing, you know. So overall, I'm happy with this list, but I feel like there will be people that complain specifically because of this guy. You know, the player bias is always going to beat me up. But realistically, I don't think Gogeta should be higher than, let's say, a 7 standing. 7 is the peak. but I simply see him moving down, but he could move up depending on what they drop next. So that's my overall opinion on like looking at it. I'm just not going to move anything because it's already shaky as is from 7 to 10. But you guys let me know in the comment section, and I'll obviously take in your input based on what you guys think about these guys. Give your reasoning down below because I am actually interested. Don't just come slander me. Is what it is though. But yeah, man, that's going to be the end of the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, man. I did enjoy making this video. It's been a while since I've done a tier list, so you know I had to get in my bag. Give a genuine comment down below what you think was good, what you think was bad. I will be checking them. Lots of people are just gonna slander. I'll just scan over those, but if you actually take your time to write something, I will look at what you've written and actually consider different placements, especially for my next tier list going forward. It's not just my opinions that form this. I do take accounts that I've seen on social medias, my Discord server, and other people in my stream chat that also have experiences in that. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 100,000 subscribers. Appreciate you guys for watching the video, man. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.